received a ton of comments from my first few videos with people asking about studying Japanese as a beginner. I will go through all the strategies, resources, and mindsets to start studying today, even if you have zero knowledge. With everything I'm about to give you guys, here is a rough estimation of when I believe you'll be able to reach your goals. I am not trying to sell anything here. I genuinely believe if your goal is to be able to speak to another Japanese person, you will only need a few months of studying a couple hours a day. I cannot guarantee it, but it's highly probable. Those living in Japan can accelerate their learning goals as their environment is Japanese. So the first step is understanding the two basic readings, which are hiragana and katakana. Here is a chart demonstrating all the characters used in hiragana and katakana, and it's also advised that you learn this with the variations. Hiragana is used for basic native words like sayonara, whereas katakana is used for loan words or foreign words such as pasta or tomato. The variations include what Japanese people call tenten or maru, as well as yo, which is the small letters of yayu yo used in words such as kyampu. All these charts are useful when paired with Romaji pronunciation, so that should make it easy to build the connection between each character. Although these readings are very simple, there are a few rules and exceptions. You will also come across a small tsu, which is used with words that require a silent pause, like the word happa. Often seen in loan words, a line in the middle means a vowel is extended, like in the word shiso. Also in the word konnichiwa or the phrase watashi wa, the ha is pronounced as a wa, only if it's used as a particle word. And then you'll have words like faito or photo, which uses small characters, but that's very simple to remember. Once you have mastered hiragana and katakana, you can start reading basic sentences. One thing you will notice is that it is grammatically different to most languages in the world. For example, in English or Mandarin, the order is commonly subject, verb, object, but Japanese like to go subject, object, verb. So now when speaking Japanese for the first time, you will know how to structure your sentences. After that, I would suggest learning the first 100 to 200 most used words and phrases. It might sound like a lot, but you most likely know tens of thousands in your native language. Learn how to introduce yourself and how to speak about your interests. If you like sports or history or cooking, start learning specific terms in those areas. Not only will this maintain your interest and motivation, but you'll tend to remember how to speak about your interests better than basic phrases. If you start feeling confident after all of this, start studying JLPT materials with N5 and work your way up to N1. I would suggest studying in order of kanji, vocabulary, grammar, listening, and reading. This will create a systematized approach in your learning goals and ensure you know what you need to learn. Also do practice questions to test your understanding, and if you consistently achieve at least 70% across each section, move on to the next level. It needs to remain a reasonable challenge to achieve progress quickly. Alongside your JLPT study, it will help to gain exposure from native speakers. The concept of immersion therapy has become quite popular nowadays for a reason. Continuously gaining input from native speakers for several hours a day will improve your knowledge of the language before you even realize. People often ask what content they should start with. It should always start with your interests. If you like anime or drama series, then go with that. I would do my best not to use English subtitles, as your brain would inadvertently override the Japanese speech and rely on subtitles to understand everything. The goal here is not to understand every detail of speech. The goal is to gradually start understanding more with time. If you're starting out knowing only 10 to 20% of the context, that is great. Hopefully by next month, it starts to become 30 to 40% and more after that. For those living overseas, a VPN could be useful for having access to more Japanese media. I bought Surfshark VPN for $90 and I got given almost 2.5 years. I keep my location in Japan, so whenever I search for content on any web browser or any search engine, it generates Japanese results. Reading is just as important as listening, so be sure to read articles online. In my previous videos, I used 1010 Rikai Champ to help me read advanced material. It's a free browser extension where hovering over words provides pronunciations and definitions for words. With this, I read many native news articles, but I also translated English articles if it is of interest. I often receive email newsletters from authors I like Robert Greene or Mark Manson, and I translate their work into Japanese. Although it's not 100% correct, Google has been refining their translation software for decades now, so I'd say it's pretty accurate. To quote the YouTuber Matt vs. Japan, everyone thinks it's harder to learn a new language as as an adult, but children just learn languages from their environment. An adult can achieve similar progress from forming the same environment themselves. There are definitely more factors that make it more difficult to learn another language, but the practice of immersion is how children learn. So intentionally replicating that process will help you learn another language. I live in Melbourne, Australia, where non-native English speakers are everywhere, and even people who are not very studious still learn the language to a conversational level. While practicing input, practicing output can also play a large role in retaining your knowledge. Whether you're in Japan with friends or you're overseas by yourself, think and speak in Japanese as much as possible. This will reinforce your mind to retain the language and strengthen your memory in general. What holds a lot of learners back is the fear of making mistakes. Not only are mistakes okay, but it's almost necessary for growth. So many English speakers communicate with grammatical and pronunciation errors, but we still understand them. The same will apply for any other language. Also, having Japanese speakers provide constructive feedback on your mistakes will accelerate the learning process. So now you know what to say and what not to say. An interesting exercise could be to manifest a conversation in Japanese, or think back to when you had a conversation and you just couldn't articulate yourself the way you can in your native language. Think of exactly how you want to articulate your phrase, make it as complex as you want, and search for a translation. Having a Japanese keyboard on your devices is useful for this process. Type in Japanese at every opportunity, even if it's just a Google or AI search. At an advanced level, it would be advised to learn about keigo and honorific language. A website called sankeigo.com will help you with this. Just type a sentence in casual Japanese and it'll generate an instant keigo sentence that you can use in emails or messages requiring formal Japanese. In Japanese, there's a phenomenon called pitch accents where the meaning of a word depends on the inflection. This usually comes naturally, so I wouldn't stress too much about trying to fix this. It's just good to be aware that it exists. If you're confident in your Japanese, ask a Japanese friend to play shiritori with you. It's a game where you're given a word and you have to think of a word that begins with the last character of the previous word. If your word ends with the game ends and you lose. So avoid saying rayon. I have made that mistake several times. So that's my full guide from beginner to fluency. As I mentioned, this can be achieved quicker than you think, particularly if you can devote a few hours a day to this strategy. The key is, the more hours you spend in the language, the quicker you will learn. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like if you found this video helpful. Make sure to subscribe to catch more content like this, and I'll see you next time.